Welcome back into the studio for a little bit of a bittersweet episode here. The Commodores' last game of their football season. What a season it was. Absolutely historic. And also my last show from here in the studio before I head to study abroad. Jonah and me, our last show together, unfortunately. But let's make it a good one. We're going to get to men's basketball, women's basketball. But first, we're going to start with football. Last game of the season. Commodores got off to an early lead, but fell to the Tennessee Volunteers 36-23 at home. Sad end to an amazing season.
Yeah, it's a sad end, and really you walk away with the same takeaway that you kind of took from the latter half of this season. This offense just kind of stalled out. Sure, there were injuries, right? Sure, there's the wear and tear of the season. Sure, it seems that every week you're playing a top 25 opponent, and that's just the nature of the SEC if you're Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was a top 25 opponent for 2 of those weeks. But at the end of the day, we talked about this from the jump, from the Virginia Tech game. This offense is fun. It's exciting, right? We talked about the eye candy, the pre-snap eye candy, the way that Diego Pavia runs the ball. But we said, how long would that be able to last? And honestly, they made it last a lot longer than we thought. It worked against Alabama. But again, when you're talking about a team that had the highest third down conversion percentage in the SEC, they were getting a little bit lucky, whether it was luck or athleticism. But, you know, on those 3rd and 9s, 3rd and 10s, finding ways to dump it off to Eli Stowers, pick up a first down, just use the athleticism of Pavia, of Stowers, of guys like that. And then I felt at the Ball State game, that was when it was critical that Vanderbilt could jump from being a good team who might make a bowl to a team who could at least have some claim to we should have been in the CFP. But at that moment, right, in that game, Diego Pavia threw like 30 times, and I go, okay, Becca's going to try something here and then open up the kitchen sink against Texas. It never really came, kind of reverted back to that old offense, blew the top off against LSU on that first play, and I said, okay, kitchen sink time, never really came. And at the end of the day, I think the takeaway is great Vanderbilt season, great team, but it had a cap. The offense had a cap.
It did, but I want to push back on that a little bit because it wasn't an ultimate, it wasn't just a downslide toward the end. They competed against LSU in the Bayou. They got off to an early lead, 14-0 against Tennessee. I thought they might have it. It was super fun to watch, but ultimately, you are right. There is clearly a talent gap there, and I think the offense was just too easy to guess, too predictable when they got enough film. Pavia being banged up certainly didn't help. Would have loved to see Nate Johnson. It was a little weird. We saw some Nate Johnson in the LSU game, but unfortunately he got no playing time in the Tennessee game, which was surprising as he was showing a little bit of promise. But this season was absolutely monumental for the program. I would argue it's even monumental for the entire athletics department beyond just football. A season like this puts your athletic department on the map. We learned some stuff. Clark Lee is here to stay. We will not be left behind in NIL. We've got to utilize the transfer portal. We'll see what they can do in this offseason. I think getting a quarterback and refilling some of those positions we're going to lose out from the transfer portal is going to be monumental, but you can already see the recruits are coming in. This season meant a ton. Hopefully Tim Beck also stays. I could see him getting sniped, even though our offense did not have quite the ring to it at the end of the season, but we'll see where a season like this can take the Vanderbilt athletics department as a whole, and especially the football team.
Yeah, and you came into this season off a 2-10 season. We predicted, I don't know what your exact prediction was. I know Arrington actually predicted them to be what?
7-5.
7-5. So he was just one game off. Arrington actually had the most accurate prediction. But I know I came into this season thinking it was going to be similar to the 2-10 days of last season. So what a ride the Commodores have taken all of us on. Like you said, Clark Lee has completely redefined the direction of this program. And credit to Diego Pavia. He won't be back next year. I would be shocked if he was. We don't know what this lawsuit is going to bring yet. But what a special season from this man. And what a special ride in his career coming from JUCO, working his way up to New Mexico State, turning around their program, going to a bowl game there, then coming here where things were pretty desolate, and then bringing the Vanderbilt Commodores to a bowl game on the highest level. Diego Pavia, we have nothing but gratitude for you. I mean, just what a fantastic season out of this guy. And you hope in some capacity he finds a home in the NFL because the dude is just such a competitor.
He is. He's a competitor and he's a winner. But it'll be interesting to see where does this team go from here? If Beck stays and Pavia does not, do we bring in a quarterback that's going to run a similar system? I saw something from the great Aiden Ruttman saying that maybe the Georgia Tech quarterback who put on a show against Georgia might get some interest from Vanderbilt. Do we bring in a quarterback who runs that same style? Unfortunately, I think we are limited in how effective we can be in the grueling SEC with that style. I think it's, a good way to get to that 6 wins, but can you really take that next step to the elite SEC teams with an offense like that? Obviously, there's no answer to that, and only time will tell. But maybe we can bring in more of a pocket passer, obviously an athlete, but somebody who can throw the ball a little bit better than Pavia, and see where the offense can go from there. I think on the defensive side with Clark Lee running the defense again, hopefully they can bring in some new recruits. It was a great year for the defense, and I have really high hopes going forward for that group.
Yeah, I mean, just too much pressure got put on them at the end of the season. I think, to answer your question, I'll try to answer it. I think, yes, that can be a winning play style in the SEC if your defense is excellent. If you have an elite SEC defense, which is hard because realistically, that's still a while away, right? When you're talking about, when I say elite, I mean you compare to the Georgias, the Texases, whoever in a given year, the Tennessees this year, right? Then you can compete with that style. But you just saw in a game like the other day against Tennessee, those guys can blow the cover off the ball, blow the cover off the defense, right? Throw over the top, and they can drive down the field in 2 minutes, right? You just can't do that with this slow, limit the possession game offense. And what that is going to do when you constantly have to drain the clock. Diego Pavia has to run 30 times a game. And in the box scores where they won these games, Diego Pavia is like 15 of 16 passing. So it's passing very minimally, and when you're perfect. It's too much pressure to put on a young quarterback. It's too much pressure to put on a team. They're just not going to win that way.
Yeah, some of the last couple games here where we started to slide, Pavia had like 8 to 10 completions. I don't think that can be. In the last game, 8. Right, I just don't think that can be the winning formula. And no matter how good your defense is, they can't succeed if the offense is running 3 and out. I mean, it was countless 3 and outs in that Tennessee game. It's so frustrating. And then you just put the tired defense back on the field. There's no way they can hold up against these week in and week out, these SEC offenses. So many that just run the ball through you. It's just tiring. They can't last an entire season. And that was with what I think might be one of the best special teams in the country.
They were fantastic.
We got to highlight that. I mean, the special teams was ridiculous. Jesse Mirko had one of the best years of any punters. He was joining Matthew Hayball, who's now in the NFL for the Saints, starting to really show what this Vanderbilt punting unit can do. It's 2 good punters in a row. And Brock Taylor obviously kicked the ball beautifully all year, saved our butts many times. And Martell Height in the return game did a really nice job.
Height was excellent. Cheryl made big contributions as well. I mean, yeah, not enough can be said about all 3 of these units. Offensively, extreme overperformance of expectation. I mean, remember, offensively, people were saying in fall camp, these guys look bad.
Right.
Like Pavia can't throw and Johnson can't throw.
Right.
And boy, did they prove them wrong, right? They came out and they put together a hell of a season on offense. Special teams was great, like you said. And Clark Lee, we said, okay, Clark, you're staking your job on this defense. And job secured tenfold. So you walk away from the season, sure, disappointing that you couldn't beat Texas, right? Maybe that you feel like that game's a little bit closer because there was a couple drives where you could have tied it. You end up losing by 3. You don't beat LSU, you lose by a touchdown, but that game also, you scored kind of in garbage time. So all in all, great competing by this team. But we're wrapping up for this semester of shows, and we're wrapping up the season. But the season's not over yet. This team is 6-6, and the last time I calculated that means they're going to a bowl game. Now, can they win this bowl game? Obviously, it's a tough question because we don't even know who they're playing yet. We'll find out Sunday, December 8th, the selection show. But a lot of people are projecting Vanderbilt an early bowl game, December 20th, and we're hearing a lot of Pitt and NC State. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think a bowl win would only cement what this season meant. We've obviously lost a lot of games to the end of the season here and started to slide. But I think this team of any team is going to get up for a bowl game. A lot of bowl games are so meaningless. The team can't quite get up for the game and get excited. But I think this Vanderbilt team with Pavia at the helm, and Pavia's last game ever, you know that guy is going to get up and get the team going. I think that type of energy might be able to carry them to a win, which would cap the season 7-6 and hopefully bring some more guys in through the transfer portal and add a little more excitement to the already buzzing Vanderbilt football name.
I think a win is critical here. If you lose, then the storyline, still great season, but if you lose this bowl game, then the storyline's like Vanderbilt was 6-3, Then they lost 4 in a row, kind of fell apart. They were completely figured out, and this kind of miracle season fizzles out. And technically, after all that winning, you had a losing season, right? 6-7 overall. If they win this game, wow, not only could Clark Lee bring them to a bowl, which we thought was laughable at the beginning of the season. We said, cap, this team wins 4 games, right? They win their 4 non-conference games. And boy, did it shake out differently than that. If they can get up, win this game, finish 7-6, I agree. This is then you zoom out of everything, take the emotions of this season away, and say, wow, what's going to be remembered this season? Diego Pavia, the way Beck, Kill, and Lee coached, right? A few key contributors on the defense, Randon Fontenette, definitely a name that comes to mind. The Alabama win, and just how this team competed, and then the bowl game win. So, I mean, what a season overall, and they have to cap it off.
Unbelievable. It's been such a fun time to be a Commodore fan, and let's zoom out even further and look at college football as a whole. We got the first year of the 12-team playoff. Personally, I am extremely excited. It's going to be a really good time. I think this has been a great change for college football. It's kept a lot of teams and a lot of fans and a lot of conferences still interested in the game and in the end of the season. It's given some meaning to a lot more of these championship games and to the rivalry week games, which I always think is healthy. Give me your picks. Give me a team. Obviously, we don't know the bracket yet. Give me 2 teams you think may meet in the finals and who you've got winning it all.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so my first team making the finals is going to be a team who we thought after week 2 had 0 chance at making the CFP, and that is Notre Dame. Notre Dame was dominant this season. They lost 1 game, and it was a big game to lose at that. They lost to NIU. Who? Right? Northern Illinois University. Are you kidding me? In week 2, to the point where NIU was ranked after that, just for beating Notre Dame. That was literally the only reason they were ranked, right? But before that game, right, which is the more important game to look at, Notre Dame played Texas A&M, opening at College Station on the season. And, oh, by the way, Texas A&M, pretty good team, right? They beat them. Really, any other competition, they won every single other game when people thought kind of left them for dead. I think these guys are in the right place right now. They are competing. I see Notre Dame stamping through this tournament, coming to the final. Who are they going to play, though? They are going to play the Oregon Ducks. What reason do I have to think Oregon's not going to make it? Every single test that they've been put up against, they won. Boise State, no problem. Illinois, no problem. Ohio State, no problem. They won. They've won every single game this year. They seem like they're up to the competition in every single conference. We'll see how they fare against some SEC talent. It's really exciting. And I think Oregon are your CFP champions.
What kind of SEC enthusiasts just put 0 SEC teams in the finals? Give me Texas coming out of the SEC. I think they are going to win the SEC as a whole. They've had a great season as well. I think they are your runner-up to a team that did not even make the Big Ten championships. Big Ten championship, pardon me. That is the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think the loss to Michigan is going to bode well. 1, it's going to fire them up, and 2, it gives them an extra week off. I think that is going to bode really well for the playoffs. I think, first of all, Penn State's going to go beat your Oregon Ducks in the Big Ten championship, and then Ohio State meets Texas in the finals and takes care of business for an Ohio State national championship.
I love Penn State more than anyone else. They're like kind of my spirit animal team. I have a Penn State shirt, but they're fraudulent. They're fraudulent. I mean, they were struggled to beat USC. Like I just can't get behind Penn State. And let's agree on this: if Ohio State goes out with a whimper in the first round, Ryan Day's gone. Right?
Yes, I would absolutely agree. I think
he's
he's walking on eggshells.
Oh, my God, after that Michigan loss.
It's like Doug Peterson at this point.
Oh, well, nothing could be that bad, but anyhow.
All right, moving on to men's basketball. Just as the Vanderbilt Commodores were picked in football to be the worst in the SEC, the basketball team was also picked to be last. And I think if the first month or so of basketball is any indicator, that is not the case. This team is really good. They went into the Charleston Classic, beat Nevada, which is a quad 1 win.
Yep.
Beat Seton Hall, maybe quad 2, but a great win. Unfortunately, lost to Drake in the finals. Didn't quite hold him so tight there. Ran out of steam, but this Mark Byington experience has been a good one thus far. This team has some talent and some buzz.
Well, yeah, what did we say? We said that, first of all, Byington, from his resume at Georgia Southern and then at JMU, is a program changer. And that's why they brought him here. Stackhouse did not have a resume, really. Just he was a great NBA player. These guys, and he was a G League coach. He was a good G League coach. But Byington is a program changer. And he's already done that. I mean, the team looks completely different. They kept 2 scholarships on this team. And we said this was going to be a team who could shoot the lights out, but they could also miss the lights out of the shooting. And I think that's exactly what we've seen. They're a team that has been playing surprisingly well defensively, right? For a team that kind of advertised the fact that they didn't practice playing defense that much, right? But offensively, when they're on, they'll score 100 points and they could beat anybody. When they're off, it could get pretty bad, and you look at their loss, like they just didn't shoot well from 3. And they need guys like Tyler Nickel to be hitting from 3. But Devin McLaughlin, Jalen Carey, I know you haven't loved what you've seen from Hogard so far, but I promise you AJ Hogard will come around. Jason Edwards, right, what Huffman's been doing. There's so many good pieces on this team already. Byington has this brand new group of guys clicking.
Yeah, the high variance experience is really fun because that means we can beat some of the top teams, and the SEC is good in basketball, shocker, again, so we are going to have to go up against some good opponents, but I think on days where those threes fall, we can beat anyone in the country, and that makes for an exciting season. I'm going to give you one baller and one faller from my first month of basketball. Chime in if you'd like. My faller is Jalen Carey. He has got to play better basketball. He is the biggest player on this team, and him and McLaughlin are the only bigs we have. If we're going to stay afloat in the SEC, he has got to play better basketball. He's getting in foul trouble, getting technical fouls when he's getting angry. He's not playing super hard on defense. He's shooting some really irresponsible threes. He's got to do better. But my baller, the freshman Tyler Tanner, I heard from a Vanderbilt superfan this week who's watched every single minute of Vandy basketball, said Tyler Tanner should be starting, no doubt. Just because he's a freshman does not mean he should not start. I don't care how experienced or inexperienced. He's causing steals. He's making shots. This dude is absolutely electric. Please get Tyler Tanner on the floor more. But it's been a great start, and I think we're only going to see they've got Virginia Tech coming this week, which will be a good test. We've got some transfers from Virginia Tech. We'll see how they do there, but I'm very encouraged so far.
Yep, very encouraging. We will see how it pans out. In interest of time, let's just keep moving. I'll give you some ballers from the women's basketball team. How about these women? Shea Ralph, we've talked about this. We talked about this coming into the season. They're the most established program Vanderbilt has right now, besides for, I guess, bowling, right?
Baseball?
Bowling and baseball. But now women's basketball is really, really on the come up. Won that first 4 game last year, and now, boy, do they look great. And this is coming off news that would be crushing last season, right? And it's still unfortunate. Sasha Washington out for the season. Blood clot, I hope she's okay, right? That's first of all. And crushing to miss out on leadership like that. But in terms of team outlook, you know, you're not thinking about this team any differently. The way Camille Pierre is playing and the way Michaela Blakes is playing right now, I mean, she is lighting up. She's going to win SEC Freshman of the Year. She is lighting up the court right now all over the place. I can't believe what I'm watching.
Blakes is unreal. If you haven't tuned into a women's basketball game yet, please tune in to watch the freshman, number 1, Michaela Blakes, number 1 on both of our basketball teams, men's and women's. Super good at scoring, Jason Edwards and Michaela Blakes. But that does bring me to my biggest concern about this women's basketball team. It's Blakes and it's Pierre. They are not generating offense from anywhere else. Passat was pretty helpful last year. Hasn't really gotten a lot of minutes. I'm not sure what's going on there. But it's a two-headed monster. If one gets hurt or one goes cold, I think they're going to struggle. And I've seen really from the whole team some questionable shot selection, particularly those 2 players, though. It almost feels as if our entire offense is solely through those 2 players. I just don't know how sustainable that is, but I do not want to take away from what they have done. They are 8-1. They haven't had the most testing schedule yet, but a cool stat here, they held Appalachian State to 2 points in the first quarter. 2 points in 10 minutes of basketball for the entire Appalachian State team. Pretty awesome there. Super encouraged with the women as well.
Yeah, no, I have that concern too. But the good news, I mean, not good news, but Camille Pierre has been dealing with injury. She wasn't in the last game. And, you know, they kind of found a way to distribute. Michaela Blakes was their leading scorer, predictably, but they kind of found a way to distribute a little bit more, right? Ayanna Moore, Jordan Oliver. Like, they have players who can step up on this team. But I totally agree. Those are your 2 centerpieces. One of the big questions we were going to have is how do you work Sasha Washington into this offense, somebody who demands the ball a lot as well. That's not a question anymore. Now it's just how does Shea Ralph fill in her role players. Luckily, we have a championship coach on our hands. I think she'll be able to make it work.
And the other awesome thing about that is that's a freshman and a sophomore. Freshman and sophomore
Young
are
program,
absolutely dicing up the SEC, well, we haven't gotten to SEC play yet, but are looking like a really good two-headed monster for this SEC program. See where we go from there. Unfortunately, that is going to do it for our final show of the semester, our final show on air together. Thank you to all of our amazing viewers. Please tune in to the Vanderbilt basketball, men's basketball, women's basketball, and the massive football bowl game on Sunday. We find out where they'll be for their final game of a miraculous season. Any parting thoughts, Jonah?
It's been a great ride, Zach. I hope you love abroad. Stay tuned for what the show has in store next. We're going to hopefully figure that out pretty soon. But it's been an amazing ride. You've given so much to this, and excited to see you back on cam next year. I'll be watching.
It's been a great experience, and tune in to our shows following the break here when they resume action next semester. But until next time, anchor down, go Dores. See you later.